Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. Hi, I'm Paul. I'll be your host this evening. At the moment, it's a bit of a one-man show, or it totally is a one-man show because Cornflake and Stephen are missing in action. I think work has got the better of at least one of them, but hopefully they will be joining me in a few minutes. Otherwise, you know what? You've just got me to talk to you for the next, well, I'll say hour or so, but let's just see how long I go on for. Clearly, a stack of rugby from the weekend with 5 games from Super Rugby plus 3 from the Six Nations as well. And you got to say, a couple of those results in Super Rugby this weekend we did not see coming in there. And again, quite a few initially early on, and the first 2 games were pretty close. After that, though, it did break out a bit into that one. I need some intro music, Never by the House of Love, I need to go away and listen to that one and see which one it is. But I can't remember that one off the top of my head. I will be honest with you. So, yes, so a couple of close ones there. But before we get into that, let's look at some of the news from the week. Most of it is, in all honesty, injuries. So we will talk about that as the games come on. There was one interview with Jack Measley, though, where it's been talked about the crowds for Super Rugby. And let's be honest, there have been a number of empty seats there, with the Crusaders Reds game getting 11,700, only 6,000 for Moana Pacifica advanced against the Hurricanes, and 13,000 for the Blues versus the Brumbies. So definitely plenty of seats there for extra fans to go along to. Comparing that to some of the A-League games, and I think they mentioned somewhere here that they got 20-odd thousand for the Phoenix versus Auckland UFC, for example. So definitely work to be done there. But apparently this is still better than it was last year. And last year was a year better on the year before. So boy, oh boy, they were definitely starting from a pretty low ebb, let's be honest, working back into this one. For you. So yes, as I say, the definitely some work to be done, but I say it's starting from a low ebb if they think that they're happy that they are heading in the right direction with this stuff. And look, I mean, one of the things he does say, look, there is no silver bullets. Doing lots of small things well, and definitely getting people to return to games. Getting people to turn to a game is pretty simple. It's not that difficult. Just give them tickets at the end of the day, but you can't be doing that continuously. So. To try and get people come back and make that fan experience has got to be a big thing in that one. So look, yes, they need to be doing a lot more. But he says, doing central marketing programs like themed rounds, like campaigns like fantasy to bring new people into the code. I don't know how much extra. I guess fantasy probably definitely will hold people's interest. And I guess the occasion, if you got your work league, you will drag a couple of extra people back to the game, I guess. But themed rounds, to me, apparently, if they're doing them, I guess it's because they work. But I do wonder sometimes about some of those themed rounds. For me, it's simply connecting with the fans more. And that's what they need to be doing more of. I think they're getting better at it, but I think there's still a long way to go. As to some of the stuff they can do. Cornflake and I did have a chat last year, was it last year or the year before, actually, where he went, because he went off to the USA and got the sort of fan experience over there. So on our Patreon page, him and I had a chat and made that kind of available for friends of the podcast, for friends of the podcast or supporters of the podcast to get, and where he gives us insights as to how the things over in the States, his experience of going to games there, and what could be done for things. So definitely more they can do. But hey, at least he's talking about it and it's being visible, and acknowledging that it could be better. But he obviously thinks that at least they are heading in the right direction on that one. One of the things he does say is that there is no plans for expansion for at least the next couple of years. Pardon me, which is actually a good thing. He says, look, you need to plan expansion. You can't just do it quickly and mess it up. Otherwise, you mess it up. So at least they've learned that lesson on that one. So realistically, have a 12-team competition, 10-team competition. No, it's going to stay at 11 for the foreseeable future. Simon, in that one. So yes, so it's so interesting. So a few interesting stuff from that. As I say, most of the news was on the injury front, and if we look at the injuries going into this round, last round I talked about injuries. There were 79 injuries across the 10 teams that were in action. They don't give injury updates for the teams that aren't playing, for the one team that isn't playing. So the Crusaders didn't do it last week, and this week the Highlanders haven't given us their update. But going into this round, there were 77 players injured. So you'd say, look, a couple of players less, that's got to be a good thing, right? But the number of teams with double-digit numbers of injury players has gone up. Last week, it was only the Hurricanes. This week, the Blues had 13 injured players going into the weekend. The Chiefs, 10, Crusaders, 11, and the Hurricanes, 12 still. Sorry, there were 2 last time. Western Force also had some. Western Force had like 5 players back. They only had 6 injuries this time, so good for them. And the team with the least injuries is the Fijian and Drua. Only 1 injured player. But you'll notice those double-digit numbers, the Blues, Chiefs, Crusaders, Hurricanes. It's the New Zealand side that seem to be suffering with injuries more so than the other side. So I guess some question marks there for them as to are they doing something wrong, or is it just chance? I mean, these things do tend to be cyclic. We will keep an eye on it, on that number over the rest of the season. But as I say, two less injuries this round, or going into this round, which slightly better than that one. What are the Drua doing differently? I have absolutely no idea. But they had 5 guys injured last week, 1 person injured this week. I say much lower than. By the way, the injuries also included suspended players. So there were, I think it's 1 or 2, but the players who are going through suspensions as well. So it's unavailable players from that point of view. So heading into this round, then the opening game of the weekend was the Blues versus the Brumbies at Eden Park. Going into that first round and going into the first half, trading a couple of penalties to kick us off before Barrett got the opening try, which he converted himself as well. Playing at 10 this week rather than 15. Harry Plummer stepping down to the bench. And so struck back, and so things were evened up at 10-all just after the quarter on that one. Then the Blues went to work with 3 tries before the half. 2 tries for the half, with Ta'avo and Rico Iwani scoring for a 20-10 lead. Importantly, though, at this point, Beauden Barrett missed 3 kicks. He missed a penalty and both of those conversions in that one. So whilst it was 20-10, it probably should have been something more like 27-10 at that point. That becomes important because at half-time, we hear that Beauden Barrett is injured. Apparently, he's broken his hand. We don't have a time frame yet as to how long he's going to come back for. But broken hands, let's be honest, that's not 1 week. Is it? From that point of view. Nocturnal Rights in the chat says, look, Brumbies have a real defensive problem in the 12 channel. It's not the player, but the system. Yep, and we see that in actually the stats forward on the defence side. Tackles. Look, the Blues has to make more tackles, 216 compared to 167 for the Brumbies. The Blues, they missed just 9 tackles in this game. Very good from 216. The Brumbies, though, they missed 26 tackles from 167. They did win a couple extra more turnovers, 10 compared to 8, but still, that missing that many tackles against a team of the quality of the Blues. Look, we're talking about the ex-champions here, and you should be losing that game, to be honest. Come the second half, and Meredith knocks over a penalty, scores a try, and Longren also knocks over a penalty. So no points at all from the Blues in the second half. The Brumbies put on 11 points to win the game at 20-21 with a penalty at the death to win it. So, look, the Blues definitely went downhill after Beauden Barrett went off. Really missed him in that second half. Look, Harry Plummer, look, he's not a bad fly half. Okay, let's be honest. And they won the championship with him last year. He can play, but he's not Beauden Barrett. He's not international level, which is what Beauden Barrett is. You lack Beauden's explosivity and the sort of magic he can do. And the Blues really missed that in the second half. It didn't matter that they bust all those tackles, that they had more run meters with less carries. They had more clean breaks, 9-3 by the Brumbies. All the stats say that basically the Blues should have won this one, except for turnovers conceded. 22 turnovers conceded by the Blues, only 12 by the Brumbies. The Blues just did not look after the ball well enough at the end of the day. They had all the opportunities. They should have won this game, to be honest with you. But the Brumbies stuck in there and did enough to sneak the win at Eden Park. So cracking win for the Brumbies. Really important win for the tournament as well. Seeing the Australian sides beat some of the New Zealand sides. It's not that long ago, a couple of years ago, where I think all the games for the Australian sides, New Zealand sides, there were only like 2 or 3 wins for the Australian sides all season. I think we're probably past that already. Let's be having a show. I've not gone through and checked that, so I'm just pulling that one out of my backside. So maybe it's not true, but it feels like there have been more, and we're only 3 or 4 rounds in. 4 rounds in at this point. I'm not sure I'd say Blues still missing Akira. No, I don't think that's the problem here. I think what the problem here is that, look, Bone Barrett missed his kicks at the end of the day, but also people know what to expect from the Blues now. Perhaps they need to switch things up on that one. Let's be honest. Next game up, then we saw the Fijian and Drua hosting the Chiefs, and importantly, hosting them at Lautoka, not at Suva. Okay, coming into this game, I believe the Drua have won every single game they've played at home at Lautoka. I think all of their home defeats have been at Suva. Unfortunately for them, I think they're playing more than one game at Suva this season, unlike last year. So this one was a wet one, but that doesn't matter. I mean, talking of crowds, this one was packed, even though it was absolutely raining, pelting down, and the umbrellas were up in the crowd with this one. The Chiefs made a good start. Samasoni Takiaho with his first start of the season. Got the opening try. And all that the Drua could muster in the first half was 2 penalties. They didn't miss one on the hooter, whereas Jimmy Tupu also, Tupu got a try also that Jacob this time managed to knock over the conversion for. So 6-12 at half time here for this one. As I say, it was wet, and so look, 17 turnovers from the Drua and 14 from the Chiefs. That can be excused because it was so wet. Handling was going to be difficult. We see that in the offloads. Only 4 from the Drua, only 1 from the Chiefs. Really, they knew this was a keep the ball in hand kind of game from that point of view. And led to quite a few kicks in this one. 34 for the Drua, only 30 from the Chiefs. Come the second half then, and the Drua get the opening try soon after half time to put themselves in the lead. Anton Leonard-Brown, look, he's been having a cracking couple of weeks, hasn't he? Pulled one back, but then 2 tries and a penalty going into the final minutes gave the Drua a 2-score lead at 28-17. And at that point, they knew they got the win. Look, it looks close at 28-24 because the Chiefs scored after the hooter, Topu Va'ai and Jacob knocking over the conversion to close things in. So yes, not choice. I think the Chiefs would prefer to be in the crowd watching and enjoying the atmosphere. Look, if you're going to go watch a game anywhere in Super Rugby, then you've got to say the best place has got to be up there in Fiji. That's got to have the best crowd atmosphere of all of the stadiums. Sure, there's a bit of a flight and stuff involved, but hey, look, missed kicks didn't help either side in this one, but they evened out both ways. Let's be honest, so I don't think that was what the important factor in this one. The Drew says the individual try for number 11 was try of the round from this one, and that one was by Loganimasi there for that one. And sorry, butchering the name of that one. And my brain has gone to mush as to try to remember each of the individual tries from this weekend. But look, cracking result by the Drua. Let's be honest, we didn't see either of those two first results coming. I think everyone expected the Blues to win at home, and the way the Chiefs had gone about things this season, they looked like the team to beat. And it was looking difficult to see where and who would stop them. Clearly, missing Damon McKenzie in this one. And is that a worry for New Zealand rugby that their top two sides are so dependent on Beauden Barrett, Damon McKenzie, those key players? We'll have to see on that one. Chris Rose Bailey said he wasn't a fan of the Australia going down to 4 teams, but it has made it much more competitive for the competition. Yeah, no, I agree. I wasn't a fan of it either, but it has worked out this year. Will it continue? We'll just have to wait and see on that one. Now then, I don't think Stephen's through. Nope, he's not. We'll have to wait for his picture to come. But hopefully Mr. Harris will be joining me soon. After that one then, and we had Moana Pacifica up against Hurricanes in their new home up in Albany. Look, definitely cards were involved in this one. Iossi got the first try, and Godfrey continued his good form with the penalty that went over. Miracle Failangi had a cracking game in this one, didn't he? Answered to even things up. Ruben Love on his return, really good to see him back. And I must admit, if I'd noticed he was back, I might have gone for him instead of Naholo in my fantasy team. But I didn't notice that. I missed that when I was looking at the teams and picking my fantasy team. But yeah, he got himself a try, but it was out wide and a tough one for Godfrey to get over. And Topu then got it. It meant that going in towards halftime, the Moana Pacifica were leading 14-12, and things just got better for them as Iossi also got himself yellow carded just before half time. Turner White says Pellegrini was excellent. Absolutely, he was. I'm definitely having to eat some humble pie here because I thought Jackson Gardner-Bishop was actually decent for the first couple of rounds. Round 3, I decided, look, Nana, you're right, we need to let him go. But Pellegrini has shown that look, a steadying hand at 10 is not what Moana Pacifica need at this in this one. And so yes, Pellegrini has been cracking in this one. Looks right, so Hurricanes trying to run Moana Pacifica off their feet, but kept dropping the ball. Look, 17 turnovers to 14. The Moana Pacifica didn't look after the ball that well either. If we're going to be honest with that one. And again, if you look at defensively, Hurricanes missed 18 tackles, whereas I'm looking at the wrong game. So ignore what I said before. I'll get the stats up for this one. And yes, turnovers 8 from Moana Pacifica. You're quite right. Hurricanes 19 couldn't hold on to that ball. Didn't look after it properly, and so hence. You've got to say that the Hurricanes really were in their own worst enemies in not looking after that ball. At half time, as has been mentioned in the live chat, Artie Surveyor went off injured with I think it was a tight hamstring, they said. So basically not wanting to pull it and do some real damage. And you've got to think at that point, you're like, oh dear, the talisman's gone. This is the guy they've been talking about who's brought so much to this team, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well, about work ethic, showing what's kind of needed to be at this level. And you're thinking, geez, they've lost him, they've lost the captain. This is going to be a tough one for them. But no, 2 more tries sees them pull out to a 28-12 lead in this one. Tom Savage then got himself yellow carded. When you're kind of a bit worrying there, a bit for Moana, but the Hurricanes even things up with Walker Leary also getting carded, and they And Moana managed to take advantage of this. And not only did they get that those 2 tries soon after half time when the Hurricanes were down a man, they also got another one, Sonarivi, when the Hurricanes were down. So 3 of their tries came when the Hurricanes had people in the bin. So they really did take advantage of that, which was cracking to see. Peter Lakai did pull one back to give the Hurricanes hope, but it was too little too late, as Miracle Failangi got himself another one to put it down to 40-19 with just over 10 minutes to play. There were a couple of tries late on for the Hurricanes, but it was all far too little, far too late in that one. So there, Walker Lurie was rubbish, close to being a red. Yep, I agree that they said that actually the player changing direction late was what gave you mitigation. But yeah, there was very little mitigation for that head contact with that one. So yeah, I think he got lucky there that it actually wasn't a red rather than a yellow. And so Moana Pacifica get their second ever win against New Zealand opposition. Again, it is against the Hurricanes. That was the team they beat the first time. I was there for that one, and you remember that was a golden point one after the hooter, or well, after with extra time. They didn't need extra time in this one. I say they had this one wrapped up well before limb damage to a lot. Oh, so sorry, I've got it wrong as to from memory as to what happened with that one. So yes, they didn't have to wait. They had this one won well before the hooter with sort of quarter of an hour to go really in this one. So much better result for Moana Pacifica in this one, and it does. And look, we're at the stage now where every single team has got a win in this competition. The Drua picking up their first one, Moana Pacifica also picking up their first one. So every team now after 4 rounds has got a win, which is cracking to see and doesn't show you that it is much more competitive. There is only one team left that has not been beaten so far, that has got pure wins, and it's not the team that necessarily you expect for that one. I generally don't. Not trying to say Creepy control his emotions just for the after-match talk. Look, I'm not. I generally don't listen to the after-match interviews. On the whole, generally, I'm sure you actually learn that much from them. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to with that one, Nocturnal. So cracking win for Moana Pacifica. Clearly heading in the right direction. Last year was the most wins they'd ever had in Super Rugby. So things look heading in the right direction. Getting that win kind of early in the season as well, and not one that was done by the skin of their teeth either. One that was done, I say, with plenty of time left, and without Artie Surveyor with them as well. So look, they can finish this stuff off. That'll just breed more belief into them as well, especially for that. Ones with the coaches can give some insight. You're quite right. To write some of the players. Look, they're in the middle of it until they've reviewed the game afterwards. And they're also very emotional because all that adrenaline and stuff pumping through them. So not necessarily the best one. After that, then we had the Waratahs versus the Force, the 2 unbeaten sides going into this round, facing off against each other. I mean, who would have thought we'd be talking about the Force? The Force had lost going into this one. Sorry, they lost last week, didn't they? So the Waratahs going into this one of the unbeaten sides, and boy, they had a cracking game at home against the Force. Yes, I mean Jorgensen had a cracking game in this one, and he got the opening try diving in the corner. Tizano. Look, Tizano currently is leading the try scoring stats with 6 tries. Chomo Fuller is with 5 from Moana Pacifica, and we've got a couple of Fiji and Drua players, and also Kyle Preston on 4. So with Longi Massey and Caravallo in there with those. So yeah, look, 3 out of the top 4 try scorers are from Moana Pacifica and Fiji and Drua. So 3 out of the top 5. Then plus you got put the Force in there as well. So look, not the teams you would associate with being top of the table, getting most of the tries. How long can Tizano as a Lucy be the what do you call it? Lead the try scoring. We'll have to see. But remember, Hoskins Tutu was the top try scorer last year, and he's the number 8. After that, then the Tahs started to take control. Liotta and Jorgensen both got tries before half time. It was 15-5 as every single kick at sticks missed from both teams from that matter. So kicking definitely could have been a lot better. I don't know if it was difficult on the night. Clearly, I wasn't there over in Sydney. But it didn't appear to be particularly windy or anything like that. I mean, Donaldson also missed a penalty just on the half to try and try and close the gap and give the Force something going into half time. Come the second half then, and Lancaster this time, so the other winger goes in and scores a try, and Crichton does get this one over. It then takes quite a while until we get into the last 10 minutes, but at 22-5, you've got to say the Waratahs had things sort of tied up heading into that the final 10 minutes there. With Kaliopu got a try. Edmed knocked over the points. Princip then got himself yellow carded, and Kellaway got a try to put the icing on the cake at 34-5. With time up, Coxon did get a try, but look, 34-10. That was well after the show had finished and everything had been put away. The fat lady definitely sung by that stage, hadn't she? So cracking win by the Tahs to give them a perfect record so far. Sure, they have been playing at home and had a bye, so they've had an easy draw so far. It will get tougher for them. I'm not suggesting that the Tahs are going to be world beaters and go on and win the tournament. But remember, last year they got 2 wins, both against the Crusaders. This year they've got 3 wins already, which is a step up from last year. So cracking start for them. Look, you can only beat the teams you're playing against, it's a massive step up from last year. We then had a rare Sunday game, so which a bit of a shock to the system there. I was expecting a second game on Friday night, but no, there wasn't. To have the Crusaders versus the Reds. And 3 of the players that we talked about, so that I talked about from a fancy rugby point of view, got themselves on the score sheet in this one. So yes, Cullen Grace, Sever Reese, and Will Jordan, all of them getting themselves on the scoreboard here. And look, you've got to say, if you've not got Reese and Jordan in your fantasy team, then you're going to be struggling, folks. So two certs in there. Look, in this one, Cullen Grace got over early. Sever Reese got himself one, and Dogunu finished off a team try there. So again, playing him in the centres again on that one to try and keep the Reds in it at 12-7. But look, Reese with his second try, Jordan with 2 more, and before half time, it's already blown out to 29-7. And the game is cooked with that one. Ultimately, Crusaders had good energy, but the Reds made them look better than I suspect they were. And you got to say, look, this I don't think was the hardest of games that the Crusaders are going to come across. This is one at home and everything seemed to click. Clearly got front foot ball on that side of things. Defence on this one, look, 30 missed tackles by the Crusaders, 26 by the Queensland Reds. I think there were quite a lot of defence optional at times in this one. And the man to save me so I can have a drink, it's Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir? He's there. We have no sound. Oh, no. Come on, sir. What? Oh, well. I will crack on as he doesn't seem to be able to speak at the moment. I don't know if he can't hear me or if or what's going on. But we may get the dulcet tones. But it looks like we have technical issues for Stephen Harris this evening. Look, Wilson got a cracking try. The off and offload from McWright to just before half time, and it was 29-14. Now I can hear noises from his end. He just has to open his mouth and talk, and then we'll get something from Stephen. Maybe you can't hear me.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Yes. There we go.
There we go. We've got it.
Brilliant.
God, unbelievable. Made it in the end.
Made it in the end, yes. All good. I'll just wrap up the end of the Crusaders game then. Look, what Leo Willie carried players over when he shouldn't have necessarily been able to get there. I mean, look, cracking try, a lot of effort there for him. And look, and Anderson one was basically a bit of a consolation. And then Levi Moore coming off the bench to pick up a turnover. Because look, let's be honest, the only way Levi Moore is going to score in this for the Crusaders is from turnovers, where he picks up the ball himself, because no one's going to pass to him and actually use his skills, unfortunately. So good to see Levi Moore come off the bench to get that try in the closing minutes, making it 43-19. But again, another game that was well and truly won by the Crusaders, particularly in that first half. And then so there's just so many missed tackles in this one. I'll be honest, I'm going off highlights for this one. But again, turnovers, 17 by the Crusaders, 22 by the Reds. Not necessarily, potentially, not the best quality of rugby, Stephen.
Yeah, not at all. I mean to say, I think if the Reds look back at this particular game, they'll think about why they were trying to move so much ball inside their own 22, making mistakes and just giving the Crusaders just so much field position. Like I thought it was like from the Crusaders of old. It was a performance that I thought it looked more like a 6 out of 10 from the Crusaders. For me, it wasn't full noise, if you know what I mean. Like there was, probably a reliance on a little bit of individual brilliance as well. Just shows you how they missed the likes of Will Jordan last year, and what he's actually brought to this particular team. But I don't know, for some reason, I still think they're just not clicking, which is a little bit of a scary thing for the rest of the teams in the competition. But I think the Reds will just look back at some of these basic mistakes. I think they could have put the Crusaders under a lot more pressure in this particular game.
Why they're playing Murray at 15, he's a strong winger. Looking at, I guess, because they've got Anderson and Ryan and Dongunu. I mean, they're playing four wingers, the Reds at the moment. Let's be honest, Dongunu did play a bit of centre last year as well.
Yeah.
So it's about trying to get your best players on the pitch, I think, more than anything else for the Reds at the moment. Any other particular players that from the other games that you want to sort of single out, or particular moments?
Yeah, I suppose there was some really outstanding performances, and probably a couple that I wanted to touch on from the Moana Pacifica Hurricanes game was the performance of Miracle Whailangi, who just, listen, we've heard a lot about this particular kid's journey being sort of plucked out of the islands and brought over to New Zealand. And listen, it's fantastic that he's also thrown in his lot with Samoa, but I thought Patrick Paraglini as well at first five, boy, he just brought a lot of control to that Moana side on the night. I thought he was very, very good from that particular game. Friday night, the Blues the Brumbies. Listen, there were some really good performances from some Brumbies individuals, but listen, I thought collectively the Brumbies played really well, and just the speed of their ruck ball, Paul, compared to the speed of the Blues ruck ball, which basically didn't really give the Blues an opportunity to pilfer any ball, where if you look at the other side, the Blues ball was very slow. You got a lot of turnovers from the Brumbies, but listen, that was a huge win for them. They've shown now they've won in Fiji against the Drua. They've won at Eden Park, which is usually a graveyard for a lot of sides, including international sides, that they can basically win on the road, and they still got some kettle to come back in the side. I mean, so do they bring, did they put Lelasiel back into first five? Because I thought Declan Meredith was quite outstanding for a young guy. So collectively, a really great performance. I thought Frost in the pack was very good. Yeah, I think so. Those are some of the standout performances, and of course the Fijian and Drua. Well, we all know what a tough challenge it is heading over to the islands, Paul. And once again, if you leave them in the fight, and that's exactly what the Chiefs did. Collectively, probably a couple of these coaches will probably look at some of their selections. You think back to the Hurricanes game on Friday night where they had the likes of Tossie on the bench. They had the likes of Xavier Numi on the bench. Roygaard. Boy, was that a mistake at the end of the day, Paul? Possibly.
Yeah, possibly. But I think, so I think perhaps the Hurricanes did take the a bit too easy and thought, actually we can rest some players in this one. But look, again, the players can't play every single game, so you do have to rely on your squad for this one. So how does this leave the table? You've got the Chiefs still at the top with 14 points, despite that loss. The Tahs now in second with 13 points. A bit of a gap then down to a whole host of teams on 7 points. The Landers, Crusaders, Reds, Brumbies, and Western Force all only split by points difference. A couple of points back then also to the Drua at 7, with Moana Pacifica and the Blues on 6 points, and in last place the Hurricanes on 5 points. This is not the table that we were expecting to see. Blues and Hurricanes in the last 2 places. Tahs in third with the Reds, Brumbies, and Force all on the same points as third place Highlanders, and is not, I say, what everyone expected at this stage of any stage of the tournament. Let's be honest. So a really interesting and cracking start to the season this season. Now then, a topic that we probably don't want to talk about, unfortunately, is fantasy. Because boy, oh boy, I had a shocker this week. Yourself, so Cornflake there in who hasn't managed to join us in 8th. You're in 9th, and me down in 20th this week. I had absolute shocker. Who did you want to pick? Well, let's see what Blake L, who was our top scorer, did. Lay Fayasi Pierce as your front row. Moana Pacifica and two Australian people. That's a bit of a surprise. Callum Grace, who I was championing last week, he got in there and Darcy Swain. Across his Lucy's. Now, not he went with Kale as the extra one, along with McWright and Adi Surveyor, which a lot of people have. McDermott at 9, again looking for that replacement for Roygaard because Roygaard wasn't starting. And Bowden Barrett, who he put his captain there. He may even have triple captained him, actually, in that one there at 10. Quintapaya and David Havili. Quintapaya having a quiet one, but David Havili is one that's been mentioned before. And then Tom Wright, Will Jordan, and Severy. So, you need Jordan and Reese in your team. So, cracking week for Blake there, getting that topping the points this week. Me, after last week, I went well. This week, I say a bit of a shocker for me. The Pierce, Riccatelli, and Dyer, not so bad up front. Smith and Grace didn't do too bad in the engine room for me. Ardy, obviously going off at half time, didn't help, had a bit of a quiet one. McWright and Tizano doing okay. But McDermott didn't do it for me, and then I forgot to change my captaincy. I left it on 10. I went for William Havili, which was not a cracking one. Let's be honest. Quintapaya, again, as we mentioned already, had a quiet one, but Antonio Brown fairly decent in there. And then Naholo, a quiet one as well, has gone off, as Nocturne Right says, has gone off the boil. But I was saved by Jordan and Reese there. So it could have been worse. But yes, my own stupidity or silliness there of forgetting to change out who was my captain, because I had it left on number 10, obviously, where I had Dame McKenzie previously. So yes, so that's on that side of things. Looking forward to if we look at the top scorer of the round was as you can see was Jorgensen there with 82 points. Pellegrini second with 73. So again, not what we'd expect, and then Wilson and Safoa in there. So you could have had all of those players in your team, the top 4 scorers, if you wanted to there. Jorgensen really has having a breakout season. And looking at how the Waratahs are going, perhaps he's someone to put into your side for going forwards, or has a horse already bolted on that one. But Pellegrini, you cannot have for next week, because it is a bye for Moana Pacifica in the next round, so they are not available. Let's look at the round 5 games then. Highlanders up against the Hurricanes. Starting off with on that one, the TAB have got the Hurricanes as favourites at $1.62 compared to $2.20. But I'm fancying the Highlanders at home, to be honest, against Hurricane side, who is bottom of the table there. So yes, definitely look at a couple of their players. Maybe they've had some wingers who have got some good points in the early rounds. Next up, the Brumbies host the Fijian and Drua. Look, the Brumbies beat the Drua away from home. At home, we know that obviously the Brumbies. We know on the road the Drua quite often aren't quite as good. Now look, they have put some better performances in, but you definitely back the Brumbies in that one at $1.22 compared to $4 for the Drua. So yes, definitely agree with the TAB on that one. Next up, the Crusaders are hosting the Force, and after their last performance against the Reds, you've got to say the Force on the road, that looks like a comfortable win for the home team in that one. Chiefs versus the Blues, another replay of an opening round game, but this time down in Hamilton. That one should be a cracker. Look, the Blues know they need to get themselves back on track, and the Chiefs are coming off the back of a loss as well. So the Blues obviously will be out without Bowden Barrett, and I don't think Dave McKenzie will be back. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But so yes, Chiefs versus the Blues. Again, a replay of that opening round game should be a good one. And then Reds versus the Tahs. Now they've got the Reds at $1.62, the Waratahs at $2.20. The Reds coming off the back of a loss to the Crusaders. The Waratahs look unbeaten this season. So again, another one where I'm disagreeing with the TAB. I'm going to back the Waratahs in that one. So I'd say Jorgensen could be a good pick for your fantasy teams. You're going to need to find a replacement if you've got Artie Surveyor in there in that back row, because, as I say, Moana Pacifica have got the bye this coming round, and it's the Highlanders who are coming back into it. So don't forget to put your Highlanders back in there that you might have had from previous rounds. Gone blank as to his name, but obviously the winger who used to play sevens has had a cracking start. There he is. Tangi Tahu might be one of those ones that you might want to think about putting in there as in that back row. Nocturnal Rights reckons, yeah, the Reds will bounce back with Les Kiss making changes. We'll have to see how that one pans out. Moving on then to the Six Nations. Round 4 was always going to be the big round, where with the tie. Or Sim, do you want to give us a little overview of your fantasy team, or should we move on to Six Nations?
No, I actually have got my fantasy team the weekend. I had a couple of sort of standouts. Of course, Will Jordan and Sevi Reece were my two standouts. Will Jordan with 63, Sevi Reece 58. Bowden Barrett did well, half a game, 65 points. But I suppose Artie Savia, who I had as a triple captain, only staying on till halftime.
Triple captain? Whoa!
Triple captain. Yeah, I know. I went big. I certainly didn't expect them to come off at halftime. He was great value. Fraser McFreight, good points, 39 points. David Harveli with 42 points, but there are also some letdowns as well. Orthar Tuangafasi with only 5 points. Then he came off the bench, so a little bit of a disappointment. I took a punt again on Ricky Riccatelli. He always seems to be good in terms of picking points up, and I think given that the Blues had a rookie on the bench, I thought he'd play close to a full game, which he almost did. So all up 483 points, but I suppose everybody's a little bit blown away by the fact there were so many upset results over the weekend. That didn't help.
No, it didn't. And so overall, now where we sat, you're sat just above me in 11th place. So Wing and a Prayer, top of the table. You're sat above me in 11th place. I'm in 12th. You've gone back ahead of me. Cornflake down there in 19th. So we'll keep you up to date with how we go next week with those as well, folks. Moving on then to the Six Nations, and first up, the game that I did get up for. So this weekend I had to balance my sleep, work, and having my daughters. So a busy weekend for me. But I did get up for the at 3 a.m. in the morning, whatever it was, for the Ireland versus France game, and I'm glad I did as well. In that first half, then a cracking game, but not many points. Let's be honest. There, Pendergast missed a penalty. We had the yellow card that we had. Ballery got the opening try on 21 minutes. So the opening quarter, no points at all on this one. Prendergast did get a couple of penalties, as did Ramos. So 6-8 at half time. But it was a cracking game in that first half. Ireland had all of the possession and territory, but could not come away with points. 14 turnovers in this game for Ireland is not the kind of performance we expect to see from them. But this defence was definitely putting pressure onto Prendergast from that one. And there's a lot of, again, when you look at the meters made for this one, Ireland made 477 meters to 474 by France. But they did off 141 runs compared to 96, so a lot more sort of bashing it up and short distance runs from Ireland, and a lot of being closed down by this French defence. Come the second half, then, and I'm trying to think when we lost, because it's not been noted in here as to when we lost. Gone blank, injury for Dupont. I can't remember exactly when he was on this one. Dupont, a victim of non-application of Law 15. I just thought I thought it was a rugby incident. I just thought he got his leg in the wrong place, and I don't think it was a twisting one at all. So I look, he was held high up. It wasn't held on the legs. It wasn't a crocodile roll or anything. So look, I just think that was a rugby incident. I know some people are not happy about it. Clearly, he's going to be out for a while now. But
Paul, I was going to say, if you look at the incident closely, he also had right behind him. He had McCarthy also had Peter O'Mahony right behind him as well, pushing on him. So yeah, for me, it's just an accident. I don't think it's like watching an individual go in and attack the leg. I just think it was just it was just an accident at the end of the day. Boy, you gotta love the courage of Dupont, though. He doesn't mind putting himself in those awkward situations, but kind of moving forward, he's quite a valuable player. Arguably probably the best rugby player in the world. I think he's just got to be about smart where he puts his head.
Yep. Look, honestly, players must keep their feet. It was Ruck Law number 15. Look, no, that's never applied. I'm sorry, but across the world, that's not applied. So, whilst I agree, I would like players to keep their feet much more at rucks. Look, you can't you can't do that one. Well, you can't criticise the referee in this situation because that's how it's refereed in all games. Come on, the second half then, and with him gone, you're thinking, geez, this is going to be a tough one. Dan Sheehan got the opening try after the half, but boy, oh boy, the French played some lovely rugby, sweeping out, and they absolutely took control with this one. With 1, 2, 3, 3 tries and a couple of penalties as well. Four 4 tries and a couple of penalties without response from Ireland, as it shot out to 13-42. The couple of yellow cards in there, one for each side in this one. But look, some lovely play by the French. When they do click, they click so well. It's an absolute joy to watch some of the flowing moves that they make. Look, late tries to Healy and Conan put some maybe a hint of respectability onto this one, because as I say, it was really 13-42, not 27-42. This one was absolutely won long before the end of the game. He's also not a fan of halfbacks trying to compete at Rucks and Jackal. Rex Fakatava a couple of years ago. Yeah, a bit of common sense in some of these ones probably would be, or making some, what the word actually is. Look, Ireland, 14 turnovers, didn't look after the ball well enough in this one, but I say put under a lot of pressure by that French defence. Even though 6 penalties by Ireland, 13 by France, Ireland could not take advantage of the territory that they got, particularly in the first half from that. Cracking result and cracking game to watch. If there's one to go back to watch this weekend, that's the one I would probably go back and watch, to be honest with you. So really impressed by France, and that puts them top of the table, ahead of Ireland on 16 points to Ireland's 14 points before we go into the rest of the games of this round. So what looked like Ireland's tournament to lose has become France's tournament, despite losing to England in that earlier round of this competition. That was followed up by Scotland versus Wales. And I'll be honest, I went back to bed before this one because, look, I could only see one result from this one. Yes, we had a better performance by the Welsh against Ireland, but I could not see them upsetting Scotland in Scotland. And whilst they got the early score, the early lead with a Anscombe penalty, look, Kinghorn and Jordan put on a couple of tries, and Finn Russell actually had his kicking boots on this week, and so he didn't miss a kick at goal, and that saw the score balloon out to 28-18 at half time. Another early try in the second half by Kinghorn. Again, so Russell having a cracking game this week, and you can see why he's considered a world-class operator when he's on form. And 35-8, the game's gone really before even the hour mark. That's like 50 minutes up. Look, Wales played to the end and got 3 converted tries to again make the score look respectable at 35-29. But the reality was, I say, with one of those tries coming after the hooter, this was at least a 2-score win for Scotland, as they comfortably got the win over Wales, as we kind of expected to do. But again, another decent performance by Wales, and no diastitude, playing all the way to the end. So look, better performances than we had at the beginning of the since we've seen what have I gone for now? Since we've seen Gatland leave, but yes. Blair Murray non-try, correct decision. You cannot hurdle on the field. Absolutely, that was the right choice. Unfortunately, in the Moana Pacifica game against which one was it? Was it Moana Pacifica against the Hurricanes, or was it Fiji and Drua against the Chiefs? There was also a hurdle player, and again that wasn't called back. So that was the incorrect decision in Super Rugby. So hopefully the referees do get it right. You can't be hurdling players, as has been mentioned by nocturnal rights. The player in the late 19th century hurdled, the tackler lifted unexpectedly, and the guy got tipped and broke his neck. So look, we cannot have it's just too dangerous to be hurdling players in this one. So it was a marvellous game. Thank you, not Sonar Rights, that he got away with the hurdle in that one. I don't think. I think he should not have. That try should not have been allowed, because I would say it's dangerous on the player there. And also Jorgensen could have got more points. I mean, he had a try disallowed as well. So there's a number of different disallowed tries this weekend. But happy with the refereeing. No complaints around that side of things. So with that one, then Scotland getting that win over Wales. It was left Wales were going to be bottom of the table with just on 3 points. Scotland got themselves up to 11 points in that one, so behind Ireland on 14. And it would have to see how England went against Italy. Now, England have never lost to Italy, and look, in this one, they didn't look like doing so either. Willis got an early try. Marcus Smith not selected, put on the bench for this one initially, but Ollie Lawrence got himself unfortunately injured on 8 minutes going off on the cart, and that brought Marcus Smith on early. Capuzzo, lovely try for have I got the right one there? Oh, that was a cracking try for Italy. But Tommy Freeman and Ollie Slightholme, both, particularly Freeman, actually. I think Ollie Slightholme's tries were, look, he did well to finish them off, but I was more impressed with Freeman on the wings. It meant that it was 21-7 going in, 21-17 going into the half. A late penalty for Garbisi gave the closed things up and gave the Italians hope going into the half. Come the second half, though, and in that first section, just after half time, Marcus Smith scored, Tom Curry scored, Ollie Slightholme scored, 3 converted tries to no reply, and 42-17. The score absolutely blew out before the hour mark, and that was it. The game was over. Look, one of the things I've been a bit disappointed by Italy this year is that I don't think they've been. Yes, they've had a couple of highlight moments, but I don't think they've really been putting together the what do you call it, the attacking prowess that I think I was expecting from them, and I've seen from them over the past couple of years developing. It hasn't really come through this time. England dominated the sort of the running from hand. Look at me, 11 clean breaks to 5. England should have scored a lot more points than they did. I think it was 5 entries to the Italian 22 for their first, only got 1 try before they started to rack up points. So look, this was not a perfect performance by England by any stretch of the imagination. They did leave a lot of points out there, but when they clicked well enough to put this one, win this one easily. Italy did get back a late consolation try, and there was one for Benel after the hooter had gone as well, leaving it at 47-24, meaning that England are currently ahead of Ireland on 15 points. So England's attack way better this week, better last. Look, I think having Finn Smith rather than Marcus Smith at 10 has been a lot better. Look, Marcus Smith does some wonderful things, but it's more individual rather than getting other players involved. Whereas I think that it's cracking. I'm very impressed with Finn Smith. So the table stands: France top on 16 points, England second on 15, Ireland third on 14 points, Scotland then on 11, pretty much in no man's land there, with Italy on 4 and Wales on 3 at the bottom. France on 106 points, points difference positive, England 20, Ireland 13. So I must admit, I did not expect England to be slightly ahead of Ireland at this stage. But look, being English, I'm very happy about that. I'm very happy with what's happened there. So cracking from so England, for me, for my point, performing ahead of expectations. Next weekend, look, the last round of games, unfortunately, don't look like being the most exciting. On New Zealand time, they start on Sunday at 3:15, where we have Italy versus Ireland. Ireland $1.04, heavy favourites, funny enough. Italy $11. 5:45, Wales host England. England $1.18. Heavy favourites, Wales on $5, and they finish up at 9 o'clock with France versus Scotland. France on $1.07, Scotland on $8.50. So look, Ireland, England, France are clearly heavy favourites and expected to win those 3 games. France there clearly in the box seat to win the championship now, having a point difference and having that better what's gone blank, better points difference as well. So it would take a major upset for Scotland to keep France close and not let them get any bonus points, and then for England to rack up a massive score against Wales, because look, they need to get something like 90 points plus points difference to get ahead of France. Because yeah, look, I'm not expecting Scotland to strip. I'm not expecting any of those teams to trip up the favourites in those games. So France really in the box seat. Also, they will know what they need to do, having played the last game as well. So not the best. Not the best. What's the word I'm looking for here? Not the best set of fixtures to finish the tournament off, unfortunately. But yeah, look, there have been a couple of upsets. I say England beating France. A couple of cracking, interesting games as well in there during this tournament. So that wraps things up for this week. I'll be back next Monday at 8 p.m. where we'll go over Super Rugby round 5 and also the final round of the Six Nations games as well. Hopefully I'll get to watch a bit more rugby this coming weekend. So yeah, it was a bit busy this weekend, so didn't quite get as many games in as I would like to have done. But look, stay safe, everybody. Hope you enjoy the rugby. And if you want to help become a supporter, check out the patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio if you'd like to support the channel. Thank you.